Hey there! We're now back into more exciting contents from UTAR FM. Think it's boring? Think again. Welcome to Something You Don't Know.
All right, hello, and good evening, everybody. Not sure if you guys still remember me. I am Joshua, and
And I'm not.
if you're not Joshua, then who are you?
I'm Lawrence. I think you might have remembered me from 2 weeks ago if anybody turned up.
Yep, I'm. We'll never know if anybody turned up.
We
That's right.
well, actually, we have statistics. But anyway, so Joshua, what are we talking about?
Today, we're going to be talking about something very interesting, and I think it can all relate to us today. What do you think it is, Lawrence?
Taxes.
Taxes. I mean, I don't think it relates to us. Similar, maybe in the future. Maybe we can learn how to twist around it. But it's just a joke. It's just a joke. Of course not. We're not gonna play around with that. Unless you are in trouble with the LHDN, come knocking to your door. But in fact, today is something even more interesting, even more relatable. It's going to be languages.
Languages.
Yeah, so tell me, what do you think languages are, Lawrence?
Well, I think languages are how you verbally communicate with words.
That's actually speaking. That's
What you speak in?
I'm speaking English.
You're speaking English. And what
Yeah.
is English?
English is a language, I think so. I mean, what dictates English as a language, anyways? Who said it?
The English, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true. It's English is a language, anyways. But yeah, speaking of this English language and everything, do you think Utarians or a lot of Malaysians in general that are proficient in this type of languages?
I think what do you call it? I think Malaysians are rather unique in that you usually have one language you're really proficient in,
Mhm.
and then you have like three others you're really bad at, but you you know the basics.
I mean, at least, it's because of our multicultural stuff and everything. We do
multiculturalism.
know a few languages here and there, but then at the same time, we're not proficient enough. But
Mm.
then, do you think this is like a very important issue? Yeah,
Definitely. I mean, you need to talk to people, but we'll get more to that after the break.
that's right.
下谁赢的脚步？为什么没人给予他照顾？没有人给他们保护。我们是否忘记了他们给我们带来的欢乐？用尽所有的爱为我们付出，换来的却是满身的伤痕。我们是否忘记了，我们是他们托付的一生，他们是我们最忠诚的朋友，爱让世界充满希望和快乐，请给他一个家。尽所有的爱为我们付出，换来的却是满身的伤痕。我们是否忘记了，我们是他们托付的一生，他们是我们最忠诚的朋友，爱让世界充满希望。
About 10.
Think it's boring? Think again. Welcome to Something You Don't Know.
Hello，大家欢迎回来 UTAR FM 哦。所以今天我们要讲的那个 topic 的那个话题是关于语言，对不对，Lawrence？对不对？Okay, yeah. So, sorry, translation. Today we are welcome back to UTAR FM and everything yada yada. And today we're going to be talking about language.
Oh, all right. Well, there's a long, short way to say, well, for me, I only know the one. I only know English. I have no idea what he's talking about. I hope it's something good.
It is something good. Like I say, it's a translation. You can trust me. I'm always trustworthy on translations. I can swear on that, man. Like, don't deny me, man. Come on, I'm a good translator. 5 stars out of 5 stars.
Mhm.
But anyways, talking about languages and everything. So we talk about a bit of a summary just now that the English language or even just languages in general in Utah in Malaysia. So
Yeah.
so
So yeah, let's get into language. What do you want to talk about first? Do you think we should talk about Chinese because it's the main language people use here in Utah? Do we want to talk about English because it's the actual main language?
maybe you can
here?
talk a bit of both of this, but then let's
Alright.
focus on a smaller scale in Utah first. So
Okay.
let's say if you just grab somebody in Utah and everything, and it's just random passerby and everything, how likely do you think they're able to master 3 or maybe even more languages? Like master, just not like, oh, hi, I am Joshua. And just that's it. So how likely do you think that it can be better than that?
0.
That's the amount of confidence you have in Utah. Come on.
Okay, this is not Utah. I think if you put yourself in like UITM, you put yourself in Sunway, it'd be the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Asking to master 3 languages is a lot. Is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right?
I can say that.
It's how do you put it? Language, I think, is easier to speak.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, it's true. It depends on the exposure and everything. So, which brings us back to like, English and everything. I have to say that English is a very easy, I'm not very easy, it's still quite easy to learn it, to like, to speak it up. But then
Yeah.
once you want to master it, like, oh yeah, it's a very fancy day today, and
Yeah.
everything is not going to be an easy one.
Yeah, because I think the thing you're talking about is like mastering English, right?
Mhm.
Like everybody knows on some level how to speak a bit of English,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Like,
true.
where's the toilet? I'm lost.
I'm
Help me
hungry.
out. I'm hungry. Or where is cheap? Mana train. Uh, but the big issue is really just the language. Nobody really has a mastery of any language that isn't their mother tongue half the time. If you like pick a random person off the street, if you pick a professor in languages, maybe.
Yeah.
But like you pick somebody off the street who's like, just a regular person and your mother tongue is in Chinese, sure, they'll be able to talk to you in Chinese because that's what they've grown up with it. They will be able to understand English, maybe, but the ability to master all three is very difficult because they are all quite separate languages.
Yeah,
right?
especially English and
Yeah.
Mandarin and everything. You ask a Mandarin speaker, somebody whose native tongue is in Mandarin, and ask them to pick up English, it's gonna be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what do you call it? They all have different backgrounds, right?
Mhm.
Chinese originated the Sino alphabet originated in China, whereas the English is like a long history of like Indo-European to Greek to Latin to
Yeah.
German, all combined together into this weird hodgepodge language, and then they colonized like a quarter of the planet, and now they absorb a bunch of hodgepodge words from different speaking country, like moccasin, right, is a Native American word, and that's
Ah.
like completely divorced from either Chinese or from English, but now it's an English word because, well, they were there, they took the word because they didn't know a better word. And you'll see that, apologize for my glasses, you'll see that constantly where it's very difficult just because the background of it is so difficult. Like if you're in Japan, you're in Korea, in Chinese is easier. Maybe
that's
if you
right.
had told me, do you think there is a possibility that you speak to a Chinese speaker in Korea that they'd be able to master both languages? I'd say yeah.
Yeah.
Probably could, right?
Yeah.
But the difference between English, Chinese, and Malay is quite significant. And I think that if you ask, because I assume most people in Utah will speak these three main languages. No offense to all Malay speakers, Satu Malaysia, but I don't know. I haven't seen that many people who come in and say like, Malay is a language I speak a lot. But it's almost impossible because there's a lot of difference. Like you speak Chinese, right? You speak all three languages roughly. Would you consider yourself a master of all three?
No, of course not. There's still always room for improvement. He said that, oh yeah, I'm very good at Mandarin. Then suddenly you see somebody who can like speak or write a 1,000-word essay and everything on Mandarin or in Malay and everything, and I'll be, all right, you know what? Maybe I'm not as good as I think I am.
But
And yeah, there's a lot of room of improvement and everything. So
how
it's very
humble.
hard to say.
How humble. But you can see that there is like certain difference. Like I of course only speak one language, that's English. But I have tried at times to learn like Malay, and you would assume it's very easy, right? And
Yeah.
it kind of is. Like I'm pretty lazy, but you assume that Malay, we have Latin alphabets, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then you have the similar pronunciation. So you think to yourself, like, it's easy. But one thing that always throws me off is that when you speak Malay and you compare it to English, it's kind of like you're listening to Yoda.
Yeah, the words are inverse.
The sentence structures are inverse. So in English, I'd be like, I want to eat food. But in food, I want to eat would be something similar in Malay, where the meaning is there, but the way it's structured is so different. And I'd love to talk more about it, but I think we're coming close to that time.
That's too bad because I mean, languages, there's so much.
There's so much to talk about. There's quite a lot more to unpack, and we're gonna get into that. But first, I think we should get ready for what's coming up next. What do you think is coming up next, Joshua?
I think it's something more related to language, also which relates to our culture and our daily life. So
what the heck are you talking? I'm talking about a song. Next up is a song. We'll be back after the break. What's wrong?
静静，我还能看见这一片蓝天。路过人间，伤痛在所难免。穿越在这山间，我心有所念，我要抓紧时间，因为人sinh这不过1万多天，顾虑太多就太浪费。如果明天或下一秒就离开这世界，你会不会趁这1万多天，好好珍惜感受所有的一切？每活一天就少见一面，我用这简单的道理，把酸甜苦辣都体验。时光如烟，人总要说再见。回忆起那些过往，也不算浪费。倘若有天，在你离开之前，脑海里浮现的会是什么画面？人sinh这不过1万多天，顾虑太多就太浪费。如果明天或下一秒将离开这世界，你会不会趁这1万多天，好好珍惜感受所有的一切？人活一天就少见一面，就让恨随风淡去，任由爱生生不息。徛在这世界几万天，烦恼也多敢有意义。若是明仔载就要离开，你敢会生气？剩下来的几万天，本来的人你伫倒位？我一世人拢咧做戏，是明仔载会离开，到底有啥人会惦记
Hello, hello, and welcome back, everybody, to UTAR FM. So now let's take a deeper dive again into languages. So what we're talking about, Lawrence, just now before we were interrupted by a sudden song.
Because we were interrupted by songs are also part of language, but we were talking about the difficulty in languages, right? The
Yeah.
difficulty in the three main languages. We'll get to Malay eventually, I swear. Malaysia, Malay. But we're talking about the different background of languages, right? And how it's not so easy to
Master all these
master it,
different
right?
languages.
But I think a lot of it is also just maybe you don't master it, but we start to combine it, right? Like what do you call it? What do you call it? The kind of mixture of English, Malay, Chinese you see in like
They call it
Pasar
like
Malam,
Bahasa Rojak.
Bahasa
Everything,
Rojak,
yeah.
something
Rojak
like.
is basically food. where you mix all the fruits, whatever stuff you put inside and everything.
Okay.
So hence why they call it Bahasa Rojak, where you both mix English and Malay and even Mandarin. Like,
Yeah.
oh, boss, tapau nasi lemak satu and everything. Tapau is Mandarin,
Yep.
and you just mix it into Malay and everything. So some people they call it like the degradation of the Malay language. I'm not sure some people may agree or not. I would say that maybe Malay itself is in danger of, being mixed by this and that languages. What do you think?
Okay. So I'm going to be talking about it from the perspective of as a person who speaks English, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a different perspective because Chinese is your mother tongue, right? What is your mother tongue?
My mother tongue is actually English.
Oh shit. Oh, no. So sorry. So sorry. We're not allowed to say that live. Wait, now I thought there was going to be more viewpoints, but okay. From my perspective,
Yeah.
right? I can see where they're coming from because like there's a lot of Malay words that have an English like direct thing, but you'll see even in places like the MRT. Like, have you seen the new fee thing? FI.
Oh yeah,
Like a friend of mine saw that and they were like, "What is fee?" And then it hit them that it's just
FEE.
FEE, the
Yeah.
English word
I
fee,
think you have to pay just to
translated to Malay basically. But rather than using an actual Malay word, because
Tambang.
yeah,
Tambang is
they
actually the
just
word.
put fee because it's simpler to understand. Now, from my perspective, I can get where people are coming from, where they say like, "Oh, the language is being destroyed," right? But I think one of the benefits of English is that no matter where you are, English is never the same, right? If
Yeah.
you are in England or where English came from, hence the name, people speak in a certain way. They go like bruv and stuff like
And
that.
even in England itself, they have different accents.
Yeah,
of
they have different
themselves.
accents, right? If you go to London, it's very different from if you go to
Scottish.
that's not in England.
Yeah,
If
sorry
you
about
go
that.
to Worcester or something like that, you see a different like countryside English, like compared to like the British London English of like like tea. But and then when you go to Australia, there'll be people going like Bogan, Bobby, or stuff like that. And in America, it's the same thing. They can't even spell aluminium right. They have to go aluminum. But so, and in Jamaica, you got English. There is a divide, the formal English and the regular spoken English.
Yeah.
And I think the Bahasa Rojak is very similar to that, where it may seem like language is being destroyed, but the people who speak formal Malay still speak formal Malay. If you go to those fancy academic like language symposiums, they are still speaking Malay in the full like saya. But when you go in regular day-to-day life, there'll be more like, "Hey boss, nasi goreng satu boss, thank you discount boss," maybe.
Yeah.
But it's how do you put it? That's how people speak. That's how we converse because we know that we understand these we understand all these shortcuts, and that's how we speak commonly. And in whether or not you're in China, whether or not you're in England, whether or not you're in America, whether or not you're in Africa, you see this pop up a lot where there's a formal language and then there is a common spoken language. So I don't really think it's degrading Malay. I think it's just a phenomenon that happens everywhere around the world.
Oh, so it says like more of like an evolution of how languages just evolve over time and everything as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, nobody's going to say the same, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
that's
true.
including language. You see a 2-year-old today, 10 years later, they'll look very different unless they get hit by a car or something. But so even if they get hit by a car, they still look different. But that's besides the point. But what I'm saying is languages evolve.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Like old Chinese and modern Chinese is not the same. Like even now, there's traditional Chinese, there's simplified Chinese,
Yeah.
right? Look similar, but there are some differences. Like what are some differences between traditional and
I
simplified?
mean, like for example, the most well-known example is like in traditional, or let's say in simplified Chinese, the love I, there's no heart in it. There's one Chinese word, the sing. There's one heart in the traditional Chinese. So they say that you have to have the heart to love and everything and so on, the whole meaning behind it. But then, I personally, I can't really understand traditional Chinese very well. I read more simplified Chinese. So somebody sends to me a whole text in traditional Chinese. I asked them, said, can you please translate it to me to simplified Chinese? Because
Yeah.
I don't really understand. And I think it's more of like how the languages evolve over time. Like if you put me like in 1920s China and everything and ask me to read some extract and everything, I'll struggle.
Yeah.
Even though I can read and I can understand Mandarin Chinese, but the whole writing system is different and maybe the whole way they even articulate the words. Like I throw you into 1500s England.
I definitely wouldn't understand.
You-
I've seen written words from that time period. And every once in a while you can pick out a similar word,
Yeah.
but you're just like, that doesn't make sense because it's still modern English, so to speak, because it's not like old Anglo-Saxon timey thing, but it's very different. And I think you see that even like in accents or in like, well, we mentioned before the interplay between Chinese, English, that kind of thing. Some words just don't exist in Chinese, right? Not
Yeah.
not just words, some letters don't exist in
Yeah,
Chinese.
yeah.
Like
Sometimes even they have to like loan words or just like
Mm.
similar sounding words. Like even Malaysia, this word. There's no like one word in Mandarin where just like one word says that it's Malaysia. So they say Malaysia. And it seems to go for Japanese is Malaysia. They have
Yeah.
to like, loan the words or just like piece it up together.
You can't pronounce it the same way.
Yeah.
So I think it has to evolve because when you are very formal, right, it maybe works in where you are, right? Like in Malaysia, formal Malay, maybe you can get away with it in like an academic institution, in the rakyat or something. But when you come down to it and you go to some kampong somewhere, they're not going to be able to pick apart all the fancy new words,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you point towards what do you call it? You point towards a train or something and you go kereta api. Even something as simple as that, I bet you a lot of people will just go train.
Oh yeah, sometimes even there's what's like what TREN trend.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of
Like
using kereta api.
instead of using kereta api because it's grading the language because the language in its most formal sense still exists in high society like I'm sure in England in an aristocracy they go, oh, it's a wonderful tea, have you seen the veranda? But nobody's gonna say that here.
Yeah, I
right?
understand that. I mean, it's a very difference between like written in spoken English or even the language itself and everything. I won't go out from myself. So I said, saya hendak makan sepinggan nasi goreng. Dalam nasi goreng itu saya tidak mau. And nobody's gonna understand you.
Nobody,
So that's a very good insight.
yeah,
Thank you
nobody
very
wants
much,
to know.
Laurenz. And
Yeah, and
so what's coming up next right now?
well, I frankly think we've talked too much about language for me, or as the French say, "les too much." So we'll cut to commercials, or as the French say, commercial.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to UTAR FM. We'll be back shortly.
Sadness,
loss of interest in activities, or changes in appetite and sleep. These are all the
symptoms of depression.
Depression is a very serious mental health that affects millions of people every day. It's important to seek help if you or someone you know are struggling. There is no shame in asking for support. Remember, you are not alone. There is help and hope available.
Mommy, can I play outside?
No way! Remember yesterday's dirty shirt?
Tire stand ruining your clothes. Introducing Top Laundry Detergent, the ultimate solution. Top's advanced formula provide powerful cleaning while being gentle on your fabrics. Now, only 19.99 ringgits at major supermarket. So choose Top for spotless perfection.
Ah boy, you can go now.
Yay!
Your garment deserves nothing but a top treatment.
Hey there, we're now back into more exciting contents from UTAR FM.
Hello and welcome back everybody to UTAR FM. I hope you guys enjoyed the commercial. So Lawrence, commercial. You said that even is French and everything. Is that true?
Yes. So as I was talking about before, English has a long history of just like copying words, right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest, because they're right next to each other and because they kept fighting each other, there's quite a lot of overlap between French and English. And a lot of times you'll see words that are just straight up the same in French, like commercial in English is commercial in French. There's no difference.
Is that the exact same spelling also?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, genuinely the exact same spelling. Just that maybe you'll catch a little phonetic like thing
commercial.
on the
So it's like
written French.
commercial.
Yeah, and they'll pronounce differently, of course. The
course.
French will not say commercial; they'll say commercial. You know, so and that's part of language evolving, right? A lot of words are just taken wholesale, and
Yeah.
it's what we were talking about before.
Just
Language evolves.
roll here and
Like
there.
straight up, Korean and Japan is based off Chinese script.
Mandarin Chinese.
But that it doesn't mean Korean and Japan are lesser for it, right? They are still their own language with their own quirks.
Yeah.
And so I think that as a nation like Malaysia with so many different cultures, the interaction that comes from Bahasa Rojak, we shouldn't really look down upon it, right? Because it's not degrading all the languages. All the languages are still there. Or there's a formal way, if you want to find it, can be written down. But what we've done is we found a way for people to easily converse between each other and
So-
of different cultures, of different backgrounds. And I don't think it's degrading a language to be in such a way that actually unites people. I'd argue Bahasa Rojak is more important for national unity than just sticking to one language.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, like, because nowadays people you ask them, even sometimes the Malays themselves, they're not even able to speak Malay on their own selves. Like even in examinations, you can see that the quality and that drop and everything. So maybe we need a new language, and not a new language. You just need to tweak a little bit of languages here and there.
I don't think it needs to be new, but I think we should just accept
Yeah.
the changes as they come,
Yeah,
because you can't force change, especially in languages,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And a lot of it sometimes is also influenced by the media or the culture we consume, like the movies, TV shows,
P. Ramlee.
yeah,
and
P.
so on.
Ramlee and stuff like that. And that, because I think we've talked too much about academic language, that is actually our next segment. So we'll talk about the different languages and entertainment within.
Think it's boring? Think again. Welcome to Something You Don't Know.
云一支一支一支在点，酒一杯一杯一杯在打，请你爱体谅我，我酒量无好，莫甲我创空。时间一天一天一天在走，汗一滴一滴一滴在流，有一天咱拢老。带某囝斗阵，浪子回头。亲爱的、可爱的、缘投的朋友，分手的、无品的、无路用的朋友，伫坎坷的路徛我阳光乌倒摆，怀疑我的人生敢若狗屎，我无时无惊，敢若一条命，朋友啊，斗阵来搏。阮一支一支一支在点，酒一杯一杯一杯在打，请你爱体 一天在走，看一日在老，有一天咱拢老，煞无行斗阵，浪子回头。敢若这条命，朋友啊，斗阵来搏。阮一支一支的饮，酒一杯一杯的干，请你爱体谅我，我酒量无好，莫甲我创空。时间一天一天一天在走，看一日一日在老。带无行斗阵，带无行斗阵。
Hey there! We're now back into more exciting contents from UTAR FM. Keeping up with the trends, it's something you must know.
Hello, and welcome back to Utah FM, everybody. So just now, Lawrence, before we went for the break, we mentioned about something media
Yeah.
in Malaysia and everything and so on. So, enlighten us on it.
Well, I was talking more about, different language media. And of course, I consume so much of it due to my intense knowledge of language. But you see a lot of, what do you call it? You see a lot of different ways that different languages lead to different media, right? And I mean this in a sense of like, okay, if I were to tell you, what do you think when I say English movies or TV shows? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
English movie, TV shows, action, Fast and Furious stuff, Marvel, Avengers,
Yeah,
DC,
all
things
the
and everything.
international stuff, right?
Yep, right.
If I told you like what's a Chinese, a local, what's in your view the Chinese, whether Malaysian Chinese or mainland Chinese or
I mean,
Taiwanese, I guess.
for me, it's all about crime dramas and everything, those lawyer dramas or like those ancient China shows and everything.
Yeah, like
Her Majesty and so on and
Your
everything.
Majesty, the princesses got pregnant because the emperor slept with him, and now the other concubine wants to kill her. But yeah, that's what you get, right?
Yeah.
And if I were to say like Malay, what do you think of Malay?
Malay is gonna be all those like businessmen and everything. Oh yeah, this is a very rich businessman. This girl likes him, this girl likes him and everything. Then they're struggling and together fighting those Malay dramas and everything. It's
Yeah.
like almost they're following a generic formula.
Yeah, and it's how do you put this? They are so distinct that
in these three
they're
languages.
like that. You don't think of them as similar, do you? Like
Yeah,
really?
speaking of which, I mean, you don't really see like an English movie where it's all crimes and everything. You don't see a local Chinese movie about cars chasing each other or some Superman
Yeah.
stuff and everything, you know?
Like, and it's almost reached this point where all these are treated as separate. Like that's their domain. We don't cross over into that. They don't cross over into that. And when somebody does, it feels weird, doesn't it? Like I think everybody at this point, because we've been inundated with their great marketing campaign, has seen the Keluang Man thing.
Yeah,
Like you've
Keluang Man.
seen it on the
Yeah, Keluang
you've
Man.
seen it on the coffee cans. I'd love to have put it here if I wasn't broke. But you see it on the coffee cans. But whenever I look at that, right, I think it feels weird. But I don't know. I don't really have a reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I mean, like, from my point of view and everything, although I can't speak for others and everything, it feels in a sense to me like it's kind of like a rip-off of the
Yeah.
Spider-Man. It's like we're trying to try hard. You just want to be Spider-Man, you want to be this type of Marvel thing and everything, and come up with some lame Long Man and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like they rip off each other, right? A lot of people have pointed out, like, oh, the Marvel or
DC and Marvels,
DC,
yeah.
why they copy from each other all the
They
time,
do, they
right?
do.
And it to me, it's what's strange is that we think that just because even though superheroes are not meant to be only English
Or Hollywood.
based, we immediately assume they are. To the point where when you bring up like a Malaysian local superhero, it sounds weird, right?
Yeah, it sounds like we are copying and we have
It sounds
no
like
other
we're
ideas and
copying,
everything.
and so it you dismiss it out of hand. And I think that happens a lot where if you see if you were to imagine seeing a Malay royal court drama, can you even think of that in your head?
Yeah, let's say it feels weird.
It feels
weird.
weird.
It
There's
feels
no
weird.
reason it should, because
Yeah.
of course there would be royal courts back during like times of the Sultanate, right?
Yeah.
But we instantly hear royal court drama and we assume like Chinese,
Yeah, Chinese and
Korean,
everything.
Japanese,
Yeah.
East Asian kind of thing. We don't assume Malay. And then it sounds weird to us, but there's no real reason. And I think a lot of Malaysian language, how it is divided, is that it's so laser focused on that audience specifically that it I don't want to say it becomes bad, but it becomes a detriment.
It becomes like a cultural appropriation. That means Chinese people are supposed to have these type of genres.
No, I don't think appropriation would be more like Keluang Man, where it feels like stealing from somebody. I think it's the kind of thing where you stereotype them. Like you're only supposed to do this kind of thing. If you ever stop doing that kind of thing, then you're weird.
Which is kind of ironic because I thought we were trying to combat racism, but then we're also encouraging racism indirectly in a sense.
Yeah, it's not fully racist,
Yeah, I
but
mean-
it's like you force people into these roles, like you force people into this thing, and it lacks a lot of the so-called multicultural appeal that's supposed to be Malaysia's strong suit. Like you go into a what do you call it? You go into a mamak store these days, right? You can get like mamak char kway teow or something like that. That's part of the appeal of Malaysia, this blending of cultures. But in our actual
Media.
different language media, we've separated ourselves.
Yeah,
And part of it is just, the audience likes it that way. But I think part of it is as you know, Malaysia is like any other country. We want to export our culture in a way, right? We want to make it more famous for tourism, what have you not. But we've always failed.
Yeah,
at
that's
doing
true.
that,
For
right?
example, like our local sports and everything, sepak takraw and everything.
Yeah.
It's Southeast Asian and everything. Like even some other local foods, nasi lemak and everything.
Yeah. And we only appear in people's like outside as just wow, Malaysia is a place with good food, but we don't hear about Malaysian shows. We don't hear about Malaysian movies. There were Malaysian Netflix series released on Netflix that you don't hear about internationally. You will hear about Korean shows like Squid Game. You will hear about Japanese movies.
Animes,
Yeah, Your Name, that kind of thing. They come to our cinemas and they're popular. And they're popular around the world. And of course, I don't have to explain how American media or British media is popular around the world. That speaks for itself. That is the media.
Yeah.
But more recently, even China, like Ne Zha 2,
Yeah,
is
that was a big hit, man.
worldwide. Like it's a big hit. And then Thailand's also doing the same thing, right? Nobody speaks Thai. No offense to anybody who's from Thailand, but it's like a made up language or something. I don't understand a word of it. But the movies they make in there, like 1,000, what do you
How to make millions before grandma dies. That's a
yeah,
good
before
movie. That was
grandma
a
dies.
very, very good one.
Yeah, and it's spoken in Thai. We have subtitles for it, but people went out in droves to watch that movie.
Yeah.
People don't do that for
Yeah,
Malaysian
local movies like
cinema or TV show. And I think a part of it is just I'm sure some people will say like, oh, it's censorship or creativity whatsoever. I think that plays a role. But I think another big role is just they're so stereotypical. They're made for such a local audience and certain groups that they lose
the appeal.
the appeal that applies to like everyone, right? Like when you see like How to Make a Million Before Your Grandma Dies, it's like it touches on that part of everybody, unless I'm sorry if it's not you, has a grandparent, right? Or has some kind of parental figure that they love.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm sorry if not. But and so it touches everybody. It feels like that. But when you have these royal court drama, or you have these like very Malay specific uh family soap opera drama, it never goes beyond Malaysia.
Yeah, I understand that.
And every time we try to make that cross, it feels like we immediately reject it.
Yeah, it's
right?
almost like a whole process of like we cannot make a single piece of media, whether it's a music or is it a film that can unite. Like,
Yeah.
you can have a cinema pack of Malay, Indian, Chinese, and even
Yeah.
bananas and everything just go inside there,
Yeah.
and then it can just hit the international market.
It's always the international media that comes to us that every people of different cultures will watch it. But when it comes to our own local thing, you can't pull in significant numbers 3 different or 4 different cultures. I'm sorry to all my Indian bros out there. I know we haven't talked a lot about you. It's
But
failure
because-
on our part. We just have no
because we never
experience in
we never
that.
really watched any Indian movies.
I mean, I watched
local
Three
ones.
Idiots back
Three
in the
Idiots
day.
is
Yeah,
like
but
the
that's
one,
the
the classic
really
one.
popular,
Yeah.
right? But
And
I think you see that as well. Indian movies,
Yeah,
like
Indian-
local Indian movies, is very Bollywood esque.
and then you
right?
stereotype them as like suddenly they argue, then they start dancing and singing and everything, and then suddenly some car comes in and they explode, and then the people take off his glasses.
We swear we're not racist here
But
at
yeah, it's not-
UTAR, but
it's
yeah. But I think to wrap it up, what I think I just want to say is, I think that creating these stereotypes is a detriment to although it seems like it appeals to certain groups and it should stay that way, it's a detriment to stories, to like the popularity of Malaysian media. If you lock yourself into that sphere, you never get out of it.
I mean, I can understand that because at the same time we're trying so hard to appeal to our own people, but then you cannot. It's more like a deadlock already.
Yeah.
If you don't appeal to your own people, you try to be different, then you get your looks. It's like, what's going on? What's this thing? But then
It has to be done if we want to go anywhere further with it.
yeah,
right?
then
If we want to do what Finas is trying to achieve, for example.
不要假設我知道，一切也都是為我而做，為何這麼偉大，如此感覺不到，不說一句的愛有多好，只有一次記得實在接觸到，騎着單車的我倆，懷緊貼背的擁抱，難離難捨，想抱緊些，茫茫人生好像荒野，如孩兒能伏於爸爸的肩膊，誰要下車？難離難捨，總有一些，常情如此不可推卸，任世間再冷酷，想起這單車，還有幸福。 好像荒野，如孩兒能伏於爸爸的肩膊，哪怕遙遙長路多斜，你愛我愛多些，讓我他朝走得堅壯些，你介意何愛護，又靠誰施捨？難離難捨，想抱緊些，茫茫人生好像荒野，如孩兒能伏於爸爸的肩膊，誰要下車？難離難捨，總有一些，常情如此不可推卸，任世間怨我壞，可知我只得你成就我的狂或野。
Hey there, we're now back into bands from UTAR FM. Share it, feel it, live it. This is something if you know.
All right, welcome back everybody to Utah FM. I hope you guys enjoyed the song again. And yeah, we're talking about languages
Yep.
here and there now, culture here and there, but it all boils down back to languages. And I think it's very important that we can hear the opinions from what Utahrians think
Mhm.
about this issue.
Opinions.
Means we are the democratic system.
We're a democratic system. All right. Yep.
Yeah. So, what are the questions that we asked the audience today?
Okay, so we asked a couple of questions to our audience for our section, of course, something if you know or SIUK. The first thing we asked them here is we asked, how many languages do you speak?
How many languages do you speak? Let's
And
answer it
this-
ourselves first.
Yeah,
many
of
languages?
course. Let's start with ourselves first. Me personally, I speak the one. I have speak no other languages. It's incredibly sad.
I mean, you can speak more than that. You can make American accents. You can make British
Yeah,
accents,
yeah.
Australian accents, French,
Yes.
English accents, German.
For
English.
the rest of the segment, I will speak in a French accent because you brought it up. I apologize, but you can blame it on Joshua.
You sound more like a Japanese samurai, though.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I don't
I
know.
am very bad at it. All right. But how many accents do you speak?
How many accents do I speak?
Well, not accents. How many languages do you speak?
Okay, let me try. I mean, if you talk about those more I'm more fluent at, it's going to be three: Malay, English, and Malay, English, and Mandarin. I don't even know how many languages I speak. Malay, English, and Mandarin. I'm sorry. That's
So-
I'm more proficient and more fluent at. A bit of Japanese here and there, and a bit of dialect Hokkien here and there.
Mm.
But then that's about it. So it's going to be
Can you speak Tamil?
Tamil. Okay, no, I'm fighting my intrusive thoughts. I'm going to make some type of joke, but I'm not going to make it. Of course, I'm not going to make it here. So yeah, yeah. So no, I don't speak Tamil. To answer your question, no, I don't.
Not Malaysia, truly Asia after all. All right.
Okay, man, a shame.
Okay.
How about the Italians? So
I think like knowing Chinese, English, Malay on some level, I think is common.
yeah, it's very fun,
For-
especially in
for-
Malaysia.
Especially in
Especially
Malaysia, especially in a school like Utah, right?
Yeah.
Where the demographic is Chinese, but the language of study is English,
Yeah.
right? And then of course we live in Malaysia, so some Malay sneaks its way
And
through.
also, for example, if you go to like national schools or private schools,
Mm.
you can of course speak in Malay and English and also Mandarin because these are
So I
one of the
guess-
languages that you pick up and so on.
Yeah.
Maybe even your own mother tongue. If you speak Hokkien at home, and that maybe counts as a language, although
Yeah.
it's more of like a subset of
Subset
Chinese. it is.
dialect, yeah. But
So-
I think it's different enough to be counted as a language. But yeah, and respectively, there's 9% said that they speak three at the minimum three.
Also, the first one is three and more.
Yeah, the
Okay.
the 82% said more than
Or
three.
more than three, sorry.
And
about that.
9% said three, and
Alright.
another 9% said only one, which,
Only one.
from what I can tell, is basically just me.
Oh, you answered the poll too.
Yes,
but then,
I do, testing for testing purposes.
okay.
And also so I don't feel so alone.
I mean, fair enough also and everything. But then, looks like, sorry to say, you are quite the
Yeah, I
minority.
am incredibly alone in this case.
Yeah.
But maybe I won't be so alone on the next question, because the next question I ask people, and by I ask I mean the hardworking publicity members, ask, which language do you prefer to speak more,
What about the option?
English or Chinese?
English or Chinese.
Now,
I mean, if you're asking the UTAR students, I won't be surprised if
you
the
think it'll
answer
be
is-
more? How many percent of people do you think?
Okay, I mean, if you take, let's say if 10 people respond to our question, I'd say 9 of them, they said they would prefer English, Mandarin, sorry, Chinese.
So you say 90%.
Let's say 90%.
Okay, we will see, and the answer is 80%.
Oh, yes.
80%.
I mean,
So
of Utahrians, if you ask them, they would prefer to speak Chinese as
yeah,
their
I'm
mother
not
language.
I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
surprised.
even within this room,
Yeah.
the amount of people prefer to speak Chinese is probably way more than the amount
Yeah,
of people prefer to
I'd
speak.
be very surprised if the poll turns out English is more, or even if there's like a 50-50 Chinese and Mandarin.
Yeah,
I would be very surprised.
that would be
I'd
surprising.
be very surprised.
Because I think, and when we ask them why,
Yeah.
a lot of the same responses popped up. It's my mother tongue,
It's my
and I think that's a
Same
big
as mother tongue.
yeah.
And yeah, it's
Yeah.
the only one. Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. It's just this is their mother tongue. Of course, they prefer to speak it. It's
yeah.
natural. That's what they've spoken since they were a wee child. They were what do you call it? They were shipped off by the doctor, and the doctor said "Ni hao ma."
And also it's because of the demographics of Utah itself. 95% of us are Chinese, and the other 5% are maybe international students and so on. So it's the demographics itself. I believe that if we take this questionnaire and ask it to take it to Bukit Bintang and ask people and say, hey, do you prefer this or that and everything?
Yeah, you'll definitely, and then you'll also include Malay,
Yeah,
right?
then you have the
They'll
different-
probably shoot up.
Yeah.
But okay, how do you think that has affected UTAR itself?
I mean, Utah itself, if you see like people on a day-to-day basis or even in classrooms, when it comes to presentation, very common sight to see. I'm sorry if it offends anybody. It's like people
I'm
just take
not.
out and say that, okay, so very good morning to the lecturers and my students, and they just look at the script and everything. So
Yeah, they
the
read out.
English language proficiency, and even worse is it comes to NTU subjects, when it comes to Malay, people would struggle
Yeah,
heavily, especially in this aspect.
yeah.
And I'm sure I'm not the only one who says this. I'm sure a lot of lecturers have seen this before, and if any lecturers are online, they will relate to this type of issue.
It's still an accomplishment, though,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
doubt about it. Like the ability, even on a basic level, to speak more than one language, unless you're a real moron like me, the ability to speak at some level 2 other languages with simple proficiency is still good.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, there's a very clear, like, they
There's-
read from a script, hello, sir, and all that.
Yeah.
But I think, but there are deeper ways it affects, right? Like culturally, so to speak.
Yeah, in a sense, culturally, of course,
Like
there's
the way they speak, even the way they speak English, because Chinese is their mother tongue, also differs a bit,
yeah,
right? Like it's not the English you and I know.
yeah, and
It's
everything.
like it's almost more formal sometimes.
Yeah.
Because it's like textbook English.
Yeah, like what we mentioned like a few minutes ago is that the written English and the spoken English and everything, they tend to speak like how they would write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of why it doesn't seem very competent is they know the words, but a lot of English is based on the tone,
Yeah.
right? The way you say something like "I love people" and "I love people" are two very different tones, and the meaning of it changes.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, I'm sure, in Chinese, like the ma, ha,
The
stuff like
Han
that.
pinyin and stuff.
Yeah, every language has its own quirks. I hope we talked about enough language enough. As the French would say, goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody, and tune in next time.
Share it, feel it, live it. This is something if you know.
You've just listened to a radio show brought to you by UTAR FM.